Hello guys and gals, so welcome back to my channel. So today's video is a different type of video, but I've been wanting to do it for a while. So before, I just want to say that I'm not the first person to do this. Obviously there's people doing it. So basically I'm going to be doing some makeup and talking about serial killers, because I'm very interested in serial killers. Like, I read up about you know, I watch documentaries all the time, so I thought, well, why not talk about it while doing makeup? There is a YouTuber that I have been obsessed with recently called Bailey Sarian, something like that. I'll leave a link down below to her channel. You can check her out, she's so good. She does like murder mysteries and stuff like that. Yeah, I wanted to just do something like that and just talk about serial killers. I just think it'd be something fun to do, and you know, if you guys like it, then it can become a regular thing. I'm just gonna do it like whenever. I'm not gonna have set days, but I don't know, because I don't want to be copying people, you know. I do my own research. I've written down my own like scripting and stuff, so yeah. So the serial killer I'm talking about today, well, killers, is the MOORS murderers. Also, everything that I'm going to be using, I will leave them listed below. It just saves me talking about them, you know what I mean? Before we start, trigger warnings, I'm going to be talking about murder, killing, sexual assault, and it is to do with children, so just, yeah. So from 1963 all the way to 1965, a couple, Ian Brady and Myra Hindley, took children and killed and sexually assaulted them and buried their bodies on the Saddleworth Moor, that's in Manchester. As we know today, there is 5 victims. I mean, I don't think we'll ever know if there was more. And out of the 5 victims, only 4 bodies have actually been found. Unfortunately, the body of Keith Bennett is still not found. So Ian Brady was born in Glasgow, which is in Scotland, I believe, in 1938. He didn't know who his father was. His mother told him that his father had died a few months before he was born. His mother was called Margaret Stewart, and she had to give up Brady, and he was sent to care because she didn't have any like support, so she couldn't afford to look after him. Times were tough, so he went to live with the Sloane family, and I think he actually took their name while he was living there, so he probably became Ian Sloane for that period of time. So when Ian was very young, apparently, don't know if this is true, he used to torture animals. And if it is true, then that is usually a sign of, you know, what you see in early signs of when people have, you know, become serial killers. Of course, he denied all the allegations and stuff, so we don't know for definite if he did, but, you know, if you can murder children, then I'm pretty sure you'll have no problem torturing animals. When he was a teenager, he was in and out of court for theft, you know, just little crimes like that. So obviously he's been a troubled child, you know, misbehaving and stuff, so it's not really a great start for him, is it really? He actually went to jail for theft and trying to smuggle something, and this was all before he turned 18, so it's not a shock that he turned out how he did. You know, he wasn't like a well-behaved child, he was naughty. So Myra Hindley was born in Crumpsall, which is in Manchester, in 1942, so she's obviously younger than Brady. And she didn't have like the best start in life, but doesn't excuse her actions though. She used to get beat by her parents quite regularly, and she had to share a bedroom with them in the same bed. If he was like a single bed, and he liked to sleep in there. Hindley's dad was in the army, and he was known as a hard man, and he wanted basically Hindley to be like him, so he would teach her how to fight and to stick up for herself. And one time, when Hindley was 8, I think she was scratched by another child, and she went home and basically told her mum and dad she was crying, and then her dad said, you better go and, you know, stick up for yourself or I'm gonna beat you. So he threatened her, and so she did. She went back and, you know, stuck up for herself. Why would you tell your kid, you know, threaten your kid to basically stick up for themselves or you're gonna beat them? That's just not really normal, is it? So when she was 18, she got a job as a typist at a place called Millward, and that is where Brady was working as well. She took a big liking to Brady. She actually wrote things about him in her diary as well, so, you know, she fancied him from the start, and, you know, even though she knew about his, like, criminal records, it didn't still, you know, she was still like, wow, this guy is, like, amazing, blah, 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 whatever. In that following December, they actually went on their first date, and then that's when their relationship, like, you know, started and started becoming serious. So they would obviously go and see each other more for more dates. So they'd go and watch, like, X-rated films, then go back to, like, Hindley's house, you know, drink and stuff. They'd also, like, spend time with each other on their lunch breaks at work. So, you know, a lot of the time they were spending time together. Which, you know, when you're first in a relationship, you want to do that. You want to be with the person a lot. They used to visit the library a lot. They'd, like, read books on, like, philosophy and, like, crime and torture. So that was, like, a bit... I mean, yeah, some people are interested in some things like that. Like, I'm interested in serial killers, but I'm not going to become a serial killer. Like, you know what I mean? They actually planned bank robberies, and they actually got hold of, like, guns and stuff, but there's no, like, information of them actually committing a bank robbery, so they probably just didn't follow through with it. After, like, you know, all that, they gained a new interest in, like, photography, so they would take, like, pictures, mainly of Hindley, which then turned into more explicit pornography images. I mean, yeah, I think some couples do that, you know, it's nothing, like, you know. In 1963, they started talking about committing a murder, so it wasn't just, like, a heat-of-the-moment thing, they actually planned. And they obviously actually followed through with planning this murder. The first victim was a 16-year-old Pauline Reed. She was actually friends with Myra's younger sister, Morphe, because they actually went to school together. So when they actually got Pauline, she wasn't as, you know, like, oh, I shouldn't go with you, you're strange, because she knew Hindley, because she knew her sister. The plan was that Hindley would drive in her van, like, you know, roaming the streets, and Brady would follow her on his motorcycle, and then when he sees people he would like signal Hindley, so probably like flash his lights or something. One night they were driving and he spotted Pauline and then signalled Hindley, and then Hindley offered her a lift home, and like I said, she knew Hindley, so she said yeah. So yeah, she offered the lift home, and Hindley actually said that she had lost a glove on the moors, on the Saddleworth Moor, and asked Pauline to help, so she agreed to, being a nice girl she was. So when they got to the moors, Brady took her out into, you know, the moors, and I think Hindley stayed by the car. So he took her there, and that's where he raped and killed her. When he returned to Hindley, so I think she was waiting by the van, not the car, but she didn't actually go there, but, you know, still doesn't make her innocent. She asked Brady, did you sexually assault her? And he replied with, of course I did. It's just sick, innit? You know, like he was bragging about it. So the next victim was a 12-year-old boy called John Kilbride. On the 23rd of November, the couple had offered him a lift home and basically told him, you know, your mum and dad are going to be worried if you're not home, let us take you home. And they even, like, bribed him with, like, alcohol. So obviously he agreed to it, and they again said about a lost glove on the moors, and he obviously agreed to help. and that's when he was sexually assaulted and murdered. And they buried his body in the moors again, where they buried Pauline, but obviously in different areas. On the 16th of June in 1964, their next victim was 12-year-old Keith Bennett. So he was walking to his grandmother's house, and obviously the pair was out, you know, searching for victims, and they obviously saw Keith was on his own. Hindley actually asked him to help her load some boxes into her van, which he agreed to, and she said that she would basically give him a lift home afterwards. So, you know, he did. Brady was in the back of the van. I'm not sure if Keith knew this, but they drove to the moors, and then that's when they sexually assaulted him, and I believe Brady strangled him with a piece of string. I think though most of the time when they went to the moors, it was Brady who went off with the kid and basically killed them and buried them and that, and Hindley would wait near the van, which still doesn't excuse her for anything, because she's still as guilty as him. There's no excuses for it at all. So 10-year-old Leslie Ann Downey was their next victim. On the 28th of December in 1964, the couple went to the fairground and noticed that Leslie was on her own. So they approached her, they was carrying some like shopping, and like purposely dropped it near her and basically asked her to help them take it to the car and then home. So she agreed to, and then they actually took her to their home instead of the moors this time. And when they got there, they undressed her, gagged her, and made a pose for photos. And then after they took the photos, she was raped and killed. And then the next day, they took the body to the moors to be buried. And they actually buried her still undressed with the clothes like near her feet. So the final victim was a 17-year-old Edward Evans. He was an apprentice engineer, and on the 6th of October in 1965, the pair picked him up at the station in Manchester and took him to the house. I think they obviously said it was like more like for like business purposes and stuff like that. When they got to the house, they drank wine. Obviously we're talking about like business and stuff. And then Brady told Hindley to fetch David Smith, and he was the husband of Hindley's younger sister Maureen. Over the year, him and Brady have like gotten close as friends and stuff. They shared interest in like guns and stuff and all that, so they had gotten pretty close. He had a criminal record like Brady, but his were for actual bodily harm and like, you know, housebreaking, just petty crime like that. So Hindley went to get David, and then when they returned, she told him to wait outside and wait for the signal. So obviously Hindley went inside, told Brady that he was here, obviously not telling Edward. When she signalled him, he knocked on the door and was greeted by Brady. So Brady said, "Oh, you must be here to collect the wine," and told Smith to basically go and wait in the kitchen while he go and got the wine. And then that is when he killed Edward. So I'm actually going to read Smith's statement, basically what he said happened. So let me just get it up a minute. So this is Smith's statement, like, from the thing. "I waited about a minute or two, then suddenly I heard a hell of a scream. It sounded like a woman, really high-pitched, then the screams carried on, one after another, really loud. Then I heard Myra shout, 'Dave, help him.' When I ran in, I just stood inside the living room and saw a young lad. He was lying with his head and shoulders on the couch, and his legs were on the floor. He was facing upwards. Ian was standing over him, facing him, with his legs on either side of the young lad's legs. The lad was screaming. Ian had a hatchet in his hand. He was holding it above his head, and he hit the lad on the left side of his head with the hatchet. I heard the blow. It was a terrible hard blow. It sounded horrible. So Brady brutally, like, you know, attacked this young lad, and obviously David Smith was there watching it all. Anyone in the right mind saw that, they would run out of the house and go and tell the police. But he didn't. He actually agreed the next morning to go and help them, you know, get rid of the body. Like, he would bring his pram, you know, to move the body to the MOORS. I mean, why would you do that? After seeing that, why would you do that? I mean, if you're scared, okay, fair enough if you're scared, but you wouldn't. You'd go home and ring the police, like any normal human being would do. But no, he returned the next morning, you know, helped them. And then later on, he actually went home, and after his wife, Maureen, who was Myra's younger sister, like, made him a cup of tea, he threw it back up and basically broke down and told her everything. After he told her everything, you know, he was scared because he probably knew that Brady knew that he was going to eventually, like, you know, tell someone. So he actually had, like, some weapons with him, you know, just to protect himself. And then eventually they went to a phone box to ring the police, and that's where they picked him up. Obviously he gave them that statement I just read out. I'm sorry if I'm just like this, because I'm trying to read, like, what I've written down. So the next day the police went to Ian and Myra's house, and they was dressed as, like, bread delivery men. Hindley opened the door and they asked, you know, is your husband home? And she actually denied that she was married or there was a man living in the home. When the police actually told her that they were police, she let them in. When they went into the home, they found Brady, like, in the living room, and he was actually writing a letter to his work, basically talking about an ankle injury that had actually happened, you know, when he was attacking Edward. The police said that they was there investigating an act of violence that had involved guns the night before. Hindley denied it all and even let the police look around the house. The spare bedroom was locked and they asked for the key, and Hindley said that it was at their work. So they said, well, we can take you and you can retrieve it and then we can open the door. And when they said that, that's when Brady said to Hindley, just hand the key over. So, you know, she had the key all along, obviously. When they went in, they looked around. I don't know what they actually found, but they probably, I'm not sure if they actually moved Evans, like, fully, but they must have found something, because then they arrested Brady on suspicion of murder. They didn't actually arrest Myra, but she wanted to go to the prison with him. When Brady was getting dressed, though, he said to the police, Eddie and I had a row and the situation got out of hand. So he basically admitted that he killed him, but he tried to, like, you know, make it seem like it was an accident, but it wasn't. And then on the 11th of October, the same year, Hindley was arrested for being an accessory in Edward's death. When the police searched the house, you know, for further investigations, they found a notebook with the name John Kilbride in it. So then they started, you know, suspecting that they was responsible for disappearance of other children. So obviously their investigation just grew, and they was, like, you know, looking into different children that had gone missing. Brady told the police that Smith helped kill him, and then Myra was just told what to do. So he was trying to get her out the doghouse, basically, but it was just not helping. When obviously Smith was interviewed again, he told the police that Brady had asked him to get rid of, like, things that were incriminating, such as, like, books, and he put them in a case, and I don't know where he took them, but the police eventually found them. There was, like, costumes, notebooks, and some pictures, and then there was also some negative pictures, and they were of Leslie and Downey, you know, when they took pornographic photos of her. And there was also a 16-minute long audio tape, which was a girl screaming and asking for help, and later on Leslie's mother had actually confirmed that it was in fact Leslie. I just wanted to finish my eyes before I carried on. Right, okay, where was I? So the police, like, you know, went around the neighbourhood and spoke to the neighbours of Hindley and Brady, and they spoke to a 12-year-old girl, Pat Hodges, and she'd actually been to the moors with them, and she could point out like the favourite sites they had on the moors, so that's when the search on the moors began. And obviously searching, they found the body of Leslie Ann Downey and John Kilbride, but John wasn't identified straight away, but obviously Leslie's mother could identify her. John's body was actually found thanks to a photograph in one of the cases. It was Hindley with her dog. They was on the moors and they was just basically crouched down, and she was looking down to the ground, and it turns out she was actually looking at his grave. So, you know, killed him, buried him, and then took a photo above his body, as you do. But yeah, thanks to that photo, they found John's body, and obviously he was later identified. So they was being charged for the murder of Edward Evans, Lizzie Ann Downey, and John Kilbride. The trial lasted 14 days. Brady testified for 8 hours and Myra testified for 6. They both pleaded not guilty. At that point, you just plead guilty, wouldn't you? You know, there's no way out. You're not getting out of it. Just, you know, do yourselves a favour. Even though the police still suspected that they was, you know, responsible for more deaths and stuff, they, you know, they just went through with the charging of the 3 children they had identified and found. So it took the jury 2 hours to basically, you know, come to a decision, and they was both found guilty. Brady was given 3 life sentences and Myra was given 2. In 1985, Brady was speaking to a journalist, and he actually told them that he killed Pauline Reed and Keith Bennett. Obviously the police were still like investigating because they knew they were responsible for others, and you know, a few other names actually cropped up as well, but they was never proven, and one of the children was actually killed by their own father. Keith Bennett's mother actually wrote to Hindley basically asking her to help find her son, tell the police where he is, you know, so she can get closure. Myra didn't actually reply, but she agreed to help, so, you know, she would, you know, look at photographs of the moors, try and point out places. She even visited the moors, I believe, twice. And when on the moors, she basically pointed out 2 spots that, you know, she was familiar with, obviously one of their favourite spots. So the police, you know, looked into these spots more and eventually found a body, which was Pauline Reed. It wasn't actually that far away from Leslie's grave either. I think Brady also went to the moors, but you know, he was never able to point places out, and he also was a bit of an idiot, and you know, he was teasing the police and stuff, saying he knew where Bennett's body was, but he never told them. And then, you know, he said he would help as long as he could commit suicide after. Obviously, you know, they couldn't allow that, so that didn't go very well. But no, unfortunately, you know, they never found the body of Keith Bennett. He's still missing to this day. His family have never got closure, which is just heartbreaking. Even when Brady was dying, he was still teasing the police and the family. You know, I think he just wanted to have that last bit of control before he died. He was just a sick man, and he deserved everything he got. He actually was sectioned to a asylum, I think. Myra remained in prison. In 2002, she died. I think out of both of them, she did have some guilt, and I think she, like, you know, found God and stuff. But Brady didn't. He was just, you know, yeah, I don't think he was even bothered. But at one point, Hindley did make a full confession of everything, and when they told Brady, he was like, no, you're lying and stuff. And then in 2017, that is when Brady died. Despite of never like finding Keith Bennett's body, I do believe that Brady did know whereabouts his body were, and he just didn't want to, you know, tell anyone. But like I said, I think he just still wanted that bit of control. Even when he was in prison, you know, he still had control over something. At first, when I first like read about this, I thought at the beginning that, you know, it wasn't Myra's fault. She was, you know, trapped with this manipulative man. You know, he was controlling. He made her do things she didn't want to do. But then, you know, the older I got and the more I read and watched things, you know, they're both as bad as each other. But I also do believe that there is more victims. And I do believe if they hadn't got caught, they would have killed a lot more too. And I also believe that David Smith is a bit fishy. Like, why would you witness a murder and then agree to help get rid of the body and, you know, all the notebooks and stuff afterwards? You just don't do that. You know, it's not normal, but there is a lot of like things, you know, you can look into with this. I do really feel for Keith Bennett's family, because obviously his body has never been found, and unfortunately his mother has passed away. So she'll have never known where her son is, but hopefully, you know, they've been reunited now. But, you know, for the rest of his family, they still don't know where he is, and I don't even know if they're still searching for him, like police, but I think the family are, like, you know, they're doing searches and stuff, but who knows, hopefully they'll find him. But I do believe Myra didn't know where his body was, because a lot of the time she was at the van, but still doesn't excuse her for what she did. So I do not feel sorry for either of them, and I'm glad they rotted. But yeah, that's everything like I got written down. I didn't want to go into too much like detail, you know, like the trial and stuff, because it, you know, a bit of boring things. I just want to kind of like, you know, like a brief talk about it. But obviously if you want to like find out more, then there is like so many things you can watch. There's documentaries, there's even a film about it called See No Evil, I think. It's a good film. There's probably books as well, you know, there's so much more into it. But I just didn't want to, you know, make this video too long and too boring. So that is everything that I've written down, I'm going to talk about. Like I said, I don't want to bore you or anything. And this is obviously the finished look, just doing my lower lashes. So yeah, something a bit different, you know. I have been wanting to do this for a while, but I just never got down to doing it. And, you know, there was other people that were doing it as well, and I just didn't want to be like copying, like I've said in the beginning. I'm not the first person to do this, and I probably won't be the last. I do want to carry on doing this and look at different, you know, serial killers. So if you enjoyed this, let me know, and, you know, let me know any serial killers you want me to talk about, and I will make sure I do some research and deliver that to you guys. Obviously, if you didn't like it, just let me know. I won't do it if people don't like it, but yeah, it's something I want to do like regular. You know, I'll just maybe like upload a video like this every so often. Obviously I'll still be doing other videos too, so just let me know what you want to see from me. And yes, thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget you can like and subscribe and follow me on my social medias, they are linked down below, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.